She was only 10. She packed her lunch, grabbed her purple backpack, and started walking to school like always. But Jessica Ridgway never made it. Her family searched, the community rallied, and what they uncovered would leave a whole town shattered. Welcome back to the Criminal Minds. A young girl vanished, and the monster was hiding in plain sight. October 5th, 2012. It was a Friday. Cool, crisp air blanketed the small town of Westminster, Colorado. The kind of fall morning where the leaves crunch under your feet, and the wind smells like school buses and lunchboxes. Jessica Ridgway was up early, like always. She was only 10, but already she was fiercely independent. She laid her clothes out the night before, a black jacket, jeans, sneakers. She packed her lunch herself and zipped it into her backpack, her favorite one, the purple one with the peace signs. Her mom, Sarah Ridgway, worked overnight shifts. That morning, Sarah was home but asleep, trusting the routine that had always worked before. Jessica knew the rules. Walk to Chelsea Park. Meet her friends. Walk together to Witt Elementary School. Same routine. Every weekday. Jessica left home a little after 8:30 a.m. She never made it to school. Jessica was tiny but mighty. Bright eyes, straight brown hair, always in a ponytail. She loved cheerleading and playing with her dog, and she was obsessed with purple. Her teachers called her sweet and a little shy, but once she warmed up, she couldn't stop talking. She was the kind of kid who reminded everyone what childhood was supposed to look like. Carefree, happy, safe. But that morning was different. 8:35 a.m., she left the house. 8:40 a.m., she was supposed to meet her friends at the park. 9 a.m., the school day started. But Jessica never arrived. No one thought much of it at first. Kids are late. Maybe she forgot something. Maybe she stopped to play. But time kept ticking, and she never walked in. Around 4 p.m., Sarah Ridgway got a call from the school. Your daughter wasn't here today. Sarah sat up straight, suddenly wide awake. What do you mean she wasn't there? Her heart started racing. She checked her phone, no texts. Checked the house, no Jessica. Checked with neighbors, nothing. And then it hit her. Jessica never made it to school. Panic took over. Sarah called 911. My daughter is missing. She walks to school every day. I thought she made it. By 4:30 p.m., Jessica Ridgway was officially declared missing. The police began canvassing the neighborhood. Officers knocked on doors. They asked questions. They retraced the path from her house to the school. No witnesses. No one saw her in the park. No one saw her at school. It was as if Jessica vanished between two street corners. That short, 3-block walk turned into a gaping black hole. That night, an Amber Alert went out. Jessica's face, smiling and full of life, was blasted across screens in Colorado and beyond. Local news stations interrupted their broadcasts. Volunteers started searching the area. Foot trails, ditches, woods, and parking lots. People started posting her picture on Facebook, putting up flyers in shop windows, and calling into tip lines. The whole town moved like a machine, looking, hoping, praying it was just a misunderstanding. But deep down, a sick feeling started to grow. This didn't feel like a mistake. This felt like something else. The human mind tries to protect itself when fear sets in. It clings to hope. It makes excuses. Maybe she stopped at a friend's house. Maybe she got turned around. Maybe she's somewhere close, just waiting to be found. But as the hours passed on October 5th, 2012, hope started to slip away. Sarah Ridgway felt the weight of every minute she'd spent asleep that morning. She had worked the graveyard shift at a tech company the night before. She came home, saw Jessica off like usual, then collapsed into bed. That was the last time she saw her daughter. And now she was answering questions no mother should ever face. What time did she leave? Was she meeting anyone? Did she seem scared? Upset? Sarah could barely speak. Every answer hurt, because every answer meant something had happened and she hadn't been there to stop it. She's just a little girl, she told one officer. She doesn't just disappear. By nightfall, the entire Westminster Police Department was mobilized. Dozens of officers. Search and rescue teams. K-9 units. They scoured every inch of the neighborhood and beyond. Creeks, trails, parks, alleyways, abandoned lots. Jessica's photo was everywhere, and so was fear. This wasn't a custody case. She didn't run away. There were no family disputes. No signs of a struggle. Just emptiness. By the morning of October 6th, hundreds of volunteers showed up. Fathers with flashlights. Mothers holding flyers. Teenagers on bikes. Seniors walking trails with binoculars and prayer cards. People skipped work. Skipped meals. They just wanted to find Jessica. Westminster had always been a quiet, safe place. People left doors unlocked. Kids walked alone. That was over now. One neighbor said, "It's like something evil has entered our town." On October 7th, just 2 days after she disappeared, police got their first major break. Jessica's purple backpack was found, along with her water bottle and school papers. But it wasn't in a park or on a street corner. It was 6 miles away in the town of Superior, dumped near a bush behind a random building. It made no sense. Who would take her that far? And why leave her belongings out in the open? Police immediately feared the worst. Someone took her, and now they were cleaning up. What was once a hopeful search became a desperate one. Her backpack being found meant she had been taken. This wasn't a case of being lost. This was now a criminal investigation. Parents clutched their kids tighter. The streets went quiet. A dark cloud settled over town. And through it all, Sarah Ridgway sat by the window, staring out, waiting for headlights, hoping they'd bring her little girl home. But deep inside, she already knew this story was turning into a nightmare. By October 8th, the town of Westminster didn't feel like home anymore. Every sidewalk felt suspicious. Every park then looked like a trap. Every unfamiliar face drew a second glance. Jessica Ridgway was still missing. Her backpack had been found 6 miles away, and police knew they were racing against time. The Westminster police requested federal help. Within hours, FBI agent arrived. They brought with them profiling experts, forensic specialists, and tracking technology. Their priority? Find out if this case was linked to any other disappearances. Because statistically, when a child is taken by a stranger, the first 48 hours are everything. After that, the chances of finding them alive drop sharply. But there was still no body, no ransom, no communication, only silence. Police interviewed everyone within a radius of several miles from Jessica's house. Parents, teenagers, retirees, registered sex offenders. Dozens were asked to voluntarily give DNA samples. Hundreds of tips flooded the hotline. I saw a suspicious car. There was a man at the park. A neighbor's security camera caught something. Every tip led to a dead end. One officer said, "We were chasing shadows." The person responsible knew how to hide. Jessica's story wasn't just local anymore. National news picked it up. Morning shows featured her photo. Crime analysts began speculating. They pointed to the abandoned backpack, carefully placed, neatly zipped, no fingerprints. It wasn't sloppy. It was deliberate. Whoever took Jessica was thinking ahead. They weren't panicking. They were planning. A few days later, a neighbor in a nearby area made a chilling discovery: a small plastic bag. Inside, what appeared to be human remains. Law enforcement quickly secured the area. Forensics teams arrived in hazmat suits. The evidence was rushed to the lab. On October 10th, the Ridgway family received the news they feared most. The remains were Jessica's, 10 years old, abducted in broad daylight, murdered, dismembered. Her body had been discarded like trash. The town was shattered. Sarah Ridgway couldn't speak. She clutched a photo of Jessica and wept. Witt Elementary brought in grief counselors. Kids left notes and drawings outside the Ridgway home. Purple ribbons appeared on every mailbox in town. And one cold, haunting truth echoed everywhere. A killer is living among us. Jessica Ridgway's killer was still out there. That thought kept every parent in Westminster awake at night. Kids weren't allowed to walk to school anymore. Strangers were side-eyed in grocery stores. And Halloween was only weeks away, an event the town now dreaded instead of celebrated. The FBI stayed on the ground. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation joined in. Police kept combing through tips, video footage, phone records, everything. But nothing led to a name. Nothing led to him. Until one phone call shattered the silence. October 23rd, 2012. Almost 3 weeks since Jessica disappeared. A woman called 911. Her voice was calm but broken. My son just confessed. He told me he killed Jessica Ridgway. Her name was Mindy Sigg, and her son was Austin Sigg, just 17 years old. Austin wasn't on anyone's radar. No priors, no criminal record, not even a single complaint. He lived just 1.5 miles from Jessica's house. A quiet suburban street. Middle class. Safe. But inside that house was a monster. That morning, Austin had walked into the kitchen and said something no mother is ever ready to hear. I need to tell you something. I killed Jessica Ridgway, and part of her is in the crawl space. At first, Mindy thought he was joking, or sick, or having a breakdown, but she saw it in his face. He meant it. Police moved fast. They surrounded the Sigg home within the hour. Austin didn't resist. He didn't try to run. He didn't even ask why they were there. He simply said, I know why you're here. And then he confessed again. Inside Austin's bedroom, police found zip ties, restraints, gloves, child pornography, DNA evidence from Jessica, and yes, remains in the crawl space. He had kept part of her as a trophy. Investigators were sick. Even seasoned FBI agents had to step away from the scene. What they found inside that home changed everything they thought they knew about predators. Because Austin Sigg wasn't a man. He was a kid, and he had been planning this for months. When news broke that Jessica's killer was just 17 years old and lived right in the neighborhood, the community lost it. People cried. People screamed. People blamed everything: his parents, the schools, the internet. No one could understand how someone so young could be capable of something so dark, so calculated, so evil. And yet, there he was, just a teenager, with a calm voice and a killer's mind. The question echoed through every home in Westminster. How could a 17-year-old kid do something like this? Austin Sigg wasn't a drifter. He wasn't a man with a criminal past. He wasn't some boogeyman hiding in the shadows. He was a teenager. He lived with his mom. He went to school. He mowed the lawn. He blended in. And he had murdered a 10-year-old girl in cold blood. Months before taking Jessica, Austin tried to kidnap a woman jogging near Kettner Lake, just blocks from his home. He attacked her, used homemade restraints, tried to drag her away, but she fought back. She escaped. He ran. And no one ever found out who he was. Until now. That jogger had no idea how close she came to becoming his first victim. Jessica was his second try, and this time he succeeded. Police searched his bedroom and computer. What they found painted a terrifying picture. Austin had an obsession with death control and sexual violence. He watched disturbing videos, read violent fantasy stories, kept handwritten notes of his plans. He admitted to fantasizing about murder for years, but he didn't want to die. He didn't want to go out in a blaze of violence. He wanted to experience power. And Jessica was how he made that fantasy real. In hours of interrogation recordings, some of which have never been released publicly, Austin calmly explained what he did. He saw Jessica walking alone, how he lured her into his car. He brought her home while his mother was at work, how he ended her life, and how he tried to hide what he'd done piece by piece. There were no tears, no shaking, no emotion, just facts. Cold, simple, evil. Now that the mystery was solved, the town wasn't at peace. The pain got worse, because now they had a face, and it wasn't a monster with scars, or a man with a history. It was a kid who lived up the street, a high school dropout, a boy who had once told classmates he wanted to become a mortician. They thought he was weird, but never dangerous. No one saw this coming, not even his mother. Once Austin Sigg confessed, No doubt had taken Jessica Ridgway's life. But now the world had a new question. Would he pay for it? He was just 17, not legally an adult, not old enough to vote, not old enough to buy cigarettes. But he had done something far beyond juvenile crime. He had committed a cold, calculated, and brutal murder, and then kept part of his victim in his crawl space. The community demanded justice, but the justice system had rules. And at 17, he was caught in the middle of two worlds, child and killer. Colorado law allowed minors as young as 16 to be tried as adults for violent felonies. The prosecutors moved fast. They charged Austin Sigg with first-degree murder, kidnapping, sexual assault of a child, attempted kidnapping from the jogger case, abuse of a corpse, possession of child pornography, 18 total charges. The public was relieved, but also nervous. What if the system tried to show leniency because of his age? What if they said he could be rehabilitated? But when the judge reviewed the case, she made it clear this was not the act of a confused teen. This was the act of a predator. Austin would stand trial as an adult. In October 2013, exactly 1 year after Jessica's murder, Austin Sigg stood in court. His hair was combed. He wore a suit. He looked more like a bored college student than a killer. Jessica's family sat just a few feet away. Her mother, Sarah, kept her eyes forward, refusing to cry in front of the boy who had destroyed her life. Walt Ridgway, Jessica's father, sat in silence. His grief sat behind his eyes like a storm barely held back. Despite entering a not guilty plea at first, Austin changed it. He stood up and said, "I am guilty." He admitted to everything. The kidnapping, the murder, the dismemberment, the cover-up, even the failed jogger abduction months earlier. His defense team offered no fight. They didn't try to spin it. They only asked for mercy in sentencing because of his age and mental instability. But the community wasn't interested in mercy. During sentencing, her family was given a chance to speak. Sarah Ridgway stood before the court, holding a photo of her daughter. She looked directly at Austin and said, "You don't get to win. You don't get to be remembered for what you did. Jessica is what matters. Her smile, her heart, and you'll never take that from us." The courtroom was silent, except for quiet sobs. Austin Sigg was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus 86 additional years. He showed little emotion, no tears, no apology, just a quiet stare, as if he didn't understand what was happening. But it didn't matter. He would die in prison. He would never walk free again. And Jessica Ridgway's name would live longer than his. Jessica Ridgway never got to grow up. She never got to go to her 5th grade graduation. Never had her first crush, her first dance, her first job, her first car. She never got to show the world the woman she would have become. But even in her absence, Jessica left something behind. A legacy that continues to speak, louder than her killer ever could. After her death, Westminster changed forever. The sidewalks she once walked now carry purple ribbons. Parks and schools bear plaques in her name. The town built a memorial garden, Jessica's Garden, where families can sit quietly and remember. Children play there. Laughter floats through the air. It's not sad. It's peaceful, because Jessica's story didn't end in that crawl space. It lives in every child her case helped protect. Jessica's murder was a wake-up call, not just for Colorado, but for every parent across the country. It sparked community-led safety patrols, school route buddy systems, neighborhood training on child predator signs, talks in classrooms about trusting instincts and recognizing danger. Because of Jessica, thousands of families now have a conversation they might have otherwise avoided. Her story became a shield for others. Sarah, Jessica's mother, didn't disappear after the verdict. She showed up to schools, to conferences, to hold vigils for other missing children. She became a quiet voice of strength for grieving families. She once said, "If my daughter's story can stop even one more child from being taken, then her life still has purpose." She didn't ask to be an advocate, but she became one, because she had no choice. As for Austin Sigg, he sits in a maximum security prison in Colorado. serving life plus 86 years. He has no access to freedom, no chance of parole, no way to rewrite the story, and more importantly, no power, because Jessica's name is still spoken with love, and his only with disgust. Jessica Ridgway was just 10 years old. She did nothing wrong. She was simply walking to school. She had lunch packed. She was excited for the day. She had no idea that evil was waiting just a few blocks away. Let her story be a reminder. Evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it's just a teenager with a quiet smile and a dark plan. So if you have a daughter, a sister, a student, a neighbor, talk to them, watch over them, teach them, believe them. Because for every Jessica, there's a chance to stop the next one. If this story moved you, leave a comment below. How do we protect children from threats that don't look like monsters? And if you want more stories that uncover the darkness and seek the truth, subscribe to the Criminal Minds and hit the notification bell.